As you incorporate more thinking routines with art into your classroom, you might begin to wonder how to tell if students' thinking is becoming more complex. Teachers often want to know how to identify the qualities of thinking and how to assess them.
In the Artful Thinking final report, researchers define the goal of artful thinking as thinking-centered learning, which can only be revealed through thinking-centered assessments. The thinking routines themselves become the assessment when combined with documentation. They reveal complex thinking, or what is known as high-end cognition.
Throughout the lesson videos in this course, you've seen teachers make their students' thinking visible, whether through documenting it on chart paper around the classroom or asking students to write their responses individually on templates. And this documentation provides teachers with useful information about student learning, including their understandings, their misconceptions, their strengths and weaknesses.
Teachers often use this data to prompt students to reflect on their learning and to shape future lessons.
In this unit's videos, a preschool and middle school teacher each present examples of their students' learning and thinking through art, giving you a snapshot of what documentation might look like.
We'll now hear the last part of my conversation with Professor Shari Tishman. To complement her work on artful thinking routines, Shari developed a practical tool called the Artful Thinking Continua. The continua identify a range of qualities from low to high-end cognition that you might notice in students' work. Many teachers use this tool when examining the written documentation of students' thinking and to help students move to higher level thinking. Here, Shari explains how the continua works. We've heard from teachers over the years that they really appreciate and find highly useful the thinking continua that you and your colleagues developed, where you have so artfully offered us language around the qualities of thinking and the various thinking dispositions.
We didn't originally set out to develop the continua very naturally. Educators ask questions about assessment. If you're trying to cultivate thinking dispositions in students, how do you know they're getting better at them? You know, as I mentioned earlier, thinking routines are designed so that they can be entered at different levels and in different ways, so it wouldn't make sense to have some sort of objective measure that all students would have to achieve sort of to the same level. So we started to think about the different dimensions along which you could get better at using a thinking routine, or that you could deepen your sort of facility with a thinking disposition. And that's how the continua came about, just ways of thinking about, subjective ways about where you might be on a journey of going from just accepting something as given to really probing beneath the surface, or thinking about something as very unidimensional versus multidimensional. So we developed the continua as a way of identifying some of the ways that learners' thinking can become more complex as they get more able with the thinking routines. You sort of choose which continua makes sense for the moment. One of the things I've seen educators do that's really wonderful is to share the continua with their students, sort of rewording them into language that might be more developmentally appropriate for younger learners. But so they aren't a surprise to students. Students themselves can look at the continua and think about how they can make their thinking better. It's sort of a metacognitive tool that if you know what kind of thinking you're aspiring toward, it can help you reach toward it.
I did that in my own classroom as a classroom teacher many years ago before working in the museum. I used some of the language and built kind of a self-assessment qualitative rubric for my students to look at their own writing and determine where do they think they fall here in their describing. There was a descriptive exercise based on a work of art. And just having that language help to make more concrete for them where they were at that time and where they want to go, and how might you go deeper with really describing every detail of something to push yourself. That's just one example. So thank you for developing that and sharing the backgrounds with us a little bit.
It's so exciting for me to see the way that folks who take the course take these ideas and really bring them to new places.
We know you'll find the Artful Thinking Continua to be a valuable tool for assessing complex thinking. You can download your own copy in the course. Ultimately, we can hope for rich outcomes from our students when we engage in these rich practices. Practices such as frequent, thoughtful explorations of art, regular use of thinking routines, extensive documentation of student thinking, and ongoing teacher learning and support groups.
In this final unit of our online course, Teaching Complex Thinking Through Art, we're going to walk you through ways to integrate these practices into your work. And we really look forward to seeing your documentation in your final project for the course.
We're grateful that you've taken this learning journey with us. We understand that this work takes time and patience. So support each other, share your wins, and please be in touch with us. We believe this work can be incredibly rewarding and transformative for both you and your students.